So, breakdown. For such a old movie, I actually didn't quite ever heard of it. I mean, it's such a simple word as well, just a single word. There aren't many movies with just a single word in the title. So I don't know. It could also be, of course, the fact that since it's a single word that just passed me by. It can happen, certainly. It seems. Yeah. In the 90s, so that's about 7, so that's 12, 13 years ago or so. Um, and critics were somehow favorable about it. It made profit. What's strange then is that like something like what was it called? I forgot exactly. I commented on it though. Um, some parents died in a car crash as well, so kind of parallels the breakdown of the car here, and adopted by someone who wants to get their inheritance and such. At any rate, yeah, no, it didn't do well, mainly because it seems it was released straight after uh, 9/11, so apparently that's a no-no in movie watching affairs. This, on the other hand, yeah, it was 4 years before 9/11, so by all means, frankly, I don't quite know what the difference is. I mean, both of them are thrillers, which is why I've mentioned it, and really, it doesn't quite seem to be that much less thrilling. I mean, personally, I thought they were quite similar. Yeah. Um, So yeah, I'm just yeah, I'm always gonna be wild as to why critics liked A, not B. This was very thrilling. I'm not saying it wasn't, but so was this other movie. Um, and generally, most thrillers sort of are this sort of thing. So I'm not entirely sure why critics seem to like this specifically. Whether movies, of course, make a profit is another matter. Concerns whether, I guess, word of mouth goes along and such. At any rate, yeah, the difference might have had in comparison to other thrillers. I mean, they're all fairly similar, thrillers are always, but main difference. I mean, there could always be thrillers that involve conspiracies. It's not exactly the most unique aspect of the movie. What is interesting though, I'm not entirely sure happens in many movies, is the gaslighting, of course, right? It's not quite explicitly mentioned. It's not, the word isn't mentioned at all, but it happens. For one reason mostly. I don't suppose it had anything to do with the fact that they really wanted to do it, but I think it establishes the fact that the police were really not in onto it. Other than when they're confronted again by the police, and he was so aggressive with the so-called protagonist. The audience would then wonder whether there might be some until, of course, the other scene that happens soon after bloodshed happens and such. At any rate, um, well, this is the kind of problem. I mean, with a lot of these movies, so even with horror generally, it's like they think we must end this with bloodshed. Somehow it always happens. Very rarely does it not happen. But I suppose there might be some movies where they end up just being apprehended, etc. But I suppose, yeah, people, movie makers think, yeah, it wouldn't be as exciting. I suppose if, but it was a bit over the top at the end there, with a couple of cars on the side, a huge truck at the back. over the top and slightly, ever so slightly, unbelievable. That indeed single solitary car can magically somehow beat off so many others. It's almost like just something that is just so in Hollywood especially is just so sort of stereotypical. That somehow the protagonist always prevails. Like at least make it slightly more believable. What was also sort of not believable is the fact that he climbed that roof. I don't think that roof was really very climbable. It seemed almost like a slide. I'm not very sure how he climbed unless somehow he Spider-Man without ever telling anyone. So that's the thing. And but otherwise, well, yeah, the gaslighting at the beginning though was interesting because in fact I went back. I went back 11, however many minutes before prior to the second scene where the uh, where the trucker's character is met with, and discussed. Then you get the policeman in the second scene, and of course he tells him that he has never seen him before, has never seen his wife. So pretty much, gaslighting. And I was honestly amazed how so full of conviction that guy was. The second protagonist, so full of conviction because I mean I don't know, just this is a guy you've just met just summarily, very quickly. In fact, he admitted that he didn't even look at the numbers of the truck, which would have been the most obvious thing to do. I mean, I'm assuming even those two numbers, they don't exactly know what kind of system they have or anything, but there were just two numbers at the side. Surely he could have remembered two numbers. This is the thing. It's a bit unbelievable. He can climb roofs that are pretty much slides, not exactly a straight roof, and he can somehow, yeah, dislodge a gun from a child's hand, etc. A bit too much, for and then despite all that, somehow he goes and hides in some bush, but somehow he forgets to look behind him. So my point is, as much as even the fact that critics like it, it's not that it's not thrilling. I'm just saying, like, it's not that it doesn't pump the adrenaline. It really does, especially when he was underneath the truck. It was so intense, incredible. Uh, yeah, especially when the feet just touched the ground. That was, I mean, still unbelievable. The fact that he somehow survived it, that he got his feet up, because if it happens for real with a truck going so fast, I don't think you could really just keep up. Just like run along with the truck while you're just hanging from underneath it. It's really unbelievable. But anyway, it was pretty intense, almost as intense as a scene in Nerve, a more recent movie, Nerve, where this guy literally just doesn't hang underneath a train, but just stays below it and the train goes past. And that is honestly one of the most frightening scenes I've seen in movies. Like, if you ever imagine it happening for real, very, very terrifying. If it ever happens for real, I mean, obviously, if it happens, then you choose for it to happen, not so much, But anyway, so I'm not saying that it wasn't thrilling per se, but it's unbelievable. So it would have been better if it was slightly more believable. If there weren't three cars all along, and then a lot of little things happened, like he just cutting his um duct tape near on around the hands, just in time, as soon as he suddenly finds out that it's really full of uh, dollar bills apparently instead of hundreds or thousands, whatever he was expecting. Yeah, that is unbelievable. This is the problem with a lot of movies, where everything happens at just the last second somehow. I was actually expecting, this is the thing, as a lot of expectations, to see if stereotypes follow and such. I was expecting the truck at the end to fall just as soon as he's off it, just as soon as, but as it happened, it didn't. So there's just a slight bit of a subverted expectation there, but not really enough to really say that this really was a movie within a genre that really subverted many expectations. It really didn't. But on the other hand, what it does try to do, it sort of does well still. So I don't know if there were many movies like it before it, if it was the originator of this sort of genre, but it is adrenaline filled certainly. But on the other hand, it's not really very different from the aforementioned movie, which was also full of this sort of stuff, but somehow people didn't like because something happened in the outside world. I'm not sure how they're connected, but anyway. Um, what's strange there is that critics didn't like it either, I think, from what I remember, unless I'm misremembering. So I don't know what makes critics like it or not. Honestly, that's always been a mystery to me, along with Oscar wins, etc. So many. I have no idea why and you know how. This was well, okay, I guess. I mean, I did feel the adrenaline certainly. It still wasn't just as perfect as people seem to indicate it might be. And honestly, the only negative review it seemed to get that I read, at least from the summary, I didn't exactly go very deep, but uh, is some guy saying that apparently he should have used more violence. That's the most ridiculous excuse for a review, honestly. Like, no, this is fine actually. It's actually there was already a lot of violence. I'm not sure what exactly he's on about, but um, I like the psychological element at any rate. I'm not there for the violence, certainly. So as much as psychological element goes, same thing was with this other unliked movie. It was psychological as well. So I've no idea, honestly, where someone liked some haven't. This was okay though. Just not as spectacular as people think it was.